The year is 1941. The world is at war. Nazi Germany's aggression has plunged Europe into chaos, and the Eastern Front has become a bloody stalemate between Hitler's forces and the Soviet Union. The United States, though not yet directly involved in the conflict, enacts the Lend-Lease Act, a program to provide critical aid to nations fighting the Axis powers.
We cannot and we will not tell them that they must surrender merely because of present inability to pay for the weapons which we know they must have.
This aid includes vast quantities of war materials, from tanks and trucks to aircraft and ammunition. One of the primary recipients of this aid is the Soviet Union, but delivering supplies presents a logistical challenge. The Atlantic Ocean is heavily patrolled by German U-boats, making the sea route perilous. A new solution is needed, one that utilizes a less conventional path, through the skies of North America and the vast wilderness of Alaska. This marks the genesis of the Northwest Staging Route, an ambitious plan to ferry American-built aircraft from factories across the United States, across the challenging terrain of Canada, to Alaska, and finally into the hands of Soviet pilots on the Eastern Front. Aircraft manufactured throughout the United States are routed through a central hub, Great Falls, Montana. This strategic decision maximizes efficiency, consolidating resources and streamlining the flow of aircraft northward. From Great Falls, the aircraft will embark on a journey of over 2,000 miles, traversing treacherous mountains, dense forests, and the unforgiving frozen landscapes of northern Canada. Construction crews face immense obstacles, battling extreme weather, permafrost, and the logistical challenges of building in some of the most remote and inhospitable regions on Earth. The Northwest Staging Route will become a vital link in the Allied supply chain, a testament to international cooperation and the determination to overcome adversity. Great Falls, Montana becomes a critical hub for the Northwest Staging Route. This once quiet city is transformed into a bustling center of aircraft and military activity. Airfields work around the clock, readying the aircraft that will be ferried north, and thousands of pilots and crew members arrive for training. The aircraft that will form the backbone of the Lend-Lease program for the Soviets are readied here. Bell P-39 Airacobras, fighter planes destined for the Eastern Front, North American B-25 Mitchells, bombers ready to strike at the enemy, and Douglas C-47 Skytrains, transport aircraft carrying vital supplies and personnel. The first leg of the journey takes these aircraft from Great Falls to Calgary, Alberta, a distance of over 400 miles. It's a crucial first step, marking the beginning of a long and challenging journey. From Great Falls, the aircraft embark on their northward journey, a challenging flight across the vast expanse of Canada. The early legs of the journey were particularly challenging for the ferry pilots. They faced unpredictable weather, limited navigation aids, and the constant threat of mechanical failure. Their first stop is Calgary, Alberta, where the existing RCAF station, McCall Field, serves as a vital staging point for refueling and maintenance. Next, they fly on to Edmonton, the capital of Alberta, and a growing city that becomes a key supply depot and maintenance hub for the route. Airfields were built or upgraded approximately every 100 miles from Edmonton, Alberta, to Fairbanks, Alaska, the longest hop being the 150 miles or so between Fort Nelson and the Smith River flight strip. The route then pushes further north, reaching Grand Prairie, a remote outpost in northern Alberta that becomes a vital refueling stop. The aircraft continue deeper into the wilderness, reaching Fort St. John in British Columbia, a strategically important location. A new airfield is carved out of the challenging terrain, a testament to the construction crew's efforts. The journey continues through northern British Columbia, reaching Fort Nelson, a remote outpost surrounded by vast forests and mountains. The airfields become lifelines, connecting isolated communities. Pushing onward into the Yukon Territory, the aircraft reach Watson Lake, a small community that becomes a vital communication center for the route. Finally, the aircraft arrive in Whitehorse, the largest city in the Yukon and a major supply hub for the entire operation. Here, the aircraft are refueled, resupplied, and prepared for the final push into Alaska. In this footage, the American ambassador to Canada, Ray Atherton, inspects the station and its staff. Here, some off-duty airmen explore Whitehorse. Relics of yesterday's transportation systems contrast strangely with the modern way of travel. From Whitehorse, the aircraft cross the border into Alaska, where new challenges await them on the final legs of their journey to Fairbanks and beyond. By this point, they've already covered over 1,500 miles. In total, over 8,000 aircraft will eventually make this journey, ferried by thousands of pilots and supported by a network of airfields and ground crews stretching across a continent. The Canadian portion of the Northwest staging route has been a vital link in the Allied supply chain, a lifeline that helped turn the tide of the war. Even planes manufactured closer to other points along the route will be routed through Great Falls. However, a secondary route also emerges, ferrying aircraft from Minneapolis, Minnesota, north through Winnipeg, Manitoba, before joining the main route in Edmonton. This secondary route provides an alternate pathway and helps increase the flow of aircraft to the north. Winnipeg, with its established aviation infrastructure, becomes a key staging point on this secondary route. Here, aircraft are refueled, maintained, and crews are changed before continuing their journey westward to Edmonton, passing through Russell, Manitoba, Saskatoon, and Lloydminster, where they join the main route. From Edmonton, the aircraft from both routes converge and continue their challenging journey deeper into the Canadian wilderness. The Northwest staging route was more than just a series of airfields. It was a complex operation that required overcoming numerous obstacles and coordinating the efforts of thousands of individuals. Building this aerial highway through the Canadian wilderness was a monumental undertaking. Construction crews faced daunting challenges, thick muskeg, permafrost, and vast distances that made transporting materials a logistical nightmare. Engineers devised innovative solutions, using local materials like timber and gravel to create stable foundations. They adapted construction techniques to the harsh conditions, building corduroy roads across the muskeg and insulated hangars to protect aircraft from the extreme cold. The most common aircraft ferried along the route was the Bell P-39 Airacobra, a fighter plane destined for the Soviet Air Force. Though it had limitations, the P-39 proved effective in the hands of Soviet pilots. Other American aircraft also made the journey, including the B-25 Mitchell medium bomber and the C-47 Skytrain transport. Each aircraft played a role in the war effort, and each faced its own unique challenges on the Northwest staging route. Behind the machines were the people who made this route a reality, the pilots who braved treacherous weather and long hours in the cockpit, navigating by the stars and relying on their skill and courage. The ground crews who worked tirelessly to maintain the aircraft, keeping them airworthy in harsh conditions and ensuring the safe passage of pilots and cargo. And the local communities, particularly the indigenous peoples of northern Canada, who witnessed this sudden influx of activity and technology. They offered assistance, shared their knowledge of the land, and adapted to the changes brought by the airfields and the influx of personnel. Essential to the safety of the route were the relief fields, strategically placed emergency landing strips scattered throughout the wilderness. These fields provided a haven for pilots facing mechanical problems, bad weather, or navigational challenges. Fields like Snag in the Yukon or Burwash Landing offered a lifeline in times of need. Often little more than a cleared strip of land with minimal facilities, these fields were nonetheless crucial to the success of the operation. Maintaining these remote outposts was a constant challenge, but their presence provided a sense of security for the pilots who braved the skies above the Canadian wilderness. The Northwest staging route was a complex undertaking, fraught with challenges but ultimately successful in its mission to deliver thousands of aircraft to the Allied war effort. The construction of the route showcased remarkable engineering feats and international collaboration. The pilots who flew the route demonstrated exceptional skill and bravery, while the ground crews worked tirelessly to maintain the aircraft, and ensure the smooth operation of the airfields. The route also left a lasting impact on the communities of northern Canada. Crossing the border into Alaska, the aircraft enter the final stage of their journey within the United States. The landscape remains challenging, but the pilots are now on familiar ground. They touch down at Northway and Tanacross, two remote outposts that serve as refueling stops. These airfields, like many along the route, demonstrate the logistical effort required to support this aerial supply line. At Delta Junction, a larger airfield with more extensive facilities, the aircraft undergo final checks and preparations. Finally, they arrive in Fairbanks, the end of the northwest staging route. Here, the aircraft are gathered and prepared for handover to Soviet pilots. Soviet pilots and mechanics who have traveled across the Bering Strait meet the American ferry pilots in Fairbanks. Here, they carefully inspect the aircraft, familiarize themselves with the controls, and officially take possession. These Soviet airmen will now face the daunting task of flying these aircraft across the Bering Strait to Siberia and then thousands of miles further to the Eastern Front. The aircraft ferried along the northwest staging route will play a crucial role in the air war over Europe, providing much-needed support to the Soviet forces fighting against Nazi Germany. The northwest staging route, a remarkable logistical achievement, has successfully delivered these aircraft to their final destination, where they will join the fight for freedom. With the end of World War II, the urgency of the northwest staging route diminished. Many of the airfields were abandoned, gradually reclaimed by the vast wilderness they had once disrupted. Many simply faded into the landscape, leaving behind ghostly remnants of a bygone era. But the legacy of the northwest staging route endures. Museums and historical societies work to preserve the memory of this remarkable undertaking, recognizing its significance in the Allied victory and its impact on the communities of northern Canada. The northwest staging route may be largely forgotten by the world, but its story remains a powerful reminder of the human capacity for collaboration, innovation, and resilience in the face of adversity.